Has Star Trek braces for a major reset. One of its most iconic ships is making a return. For nearly 6 decades, Star Trek has boldly gone through countless reboots, reinventions, and alternate timelines. From the original 5-year mission of the USS Enterprise to the gritty moral dilemmas of Deep Space Nine, every new iteration of the franchise has carried the same spirit: exploration, hope, and humanity's enduring quest for knowledge. But now, as Star Trek prepares for what's being described as a major reset, the series is reaching back into its own mythos to bring back one of the most iconic starships in its long and storied history. The news that the Enterprise D, or at least a ship modeled after it, could be returning in the next phase of Star Trek's on-screen universe has electrified fans. Not only does it signal a renewed commitment to the franchise's roots, but it also represents something deeper: a symbolic passing of the torch between generations of Trek storytelling. A franchise in flux. The phrase major reset has been floating around the halls of Paramount for months now. After years of spin-offs and streaming-era experimentation, Star Trek stands at a crossroads. Shows like Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds have expanded the canon in fascinating directions, yet they've also created a web of overlapping timelines, conflicting aesthetics, and lore-heavy narratives that sometimes alienate casual viewers. A reset offers the chance to realign the franchise, to simplify the storylines, while still honoring the universe that fans have spent decades exploring. But every reset needs a symbol, a touchstone that says, "This is still Star Trek," and that's where the ship comes in. The return of a legend. The Enterprise isn't just a vessel, it's the beating heart of the franchise. Each iteration, from the NX-01 to the Enterprise E, carries its own identity, its own crew, and its own era-defining tone. When fans see that saucer section gliding through the stars, they don't just see a ship, they see an ideal. Bringing back an iconic Enterprise model at this moment feels intentional. It suggests that the new era of Star Trek will ground itself in the familiar: the bridge, the starfield, the hum of warp engines, even as it forges new paths. There's talk that the returning ship may be a modernized version of the Enterprise D, the Galaxy-class marvel that anchored the next generation. Reconstructed briefly in Picard Season 3, that ship became a nostalgic centerpiece in a story about legacy and reconciliation. Its return hinted that the future of Star Trek might lie not in constant reinvention, but in embracing the timeless spirit of exploration. The emotional power of the Enterprise. Why does the Enterprise matter so much? Because it's more than a set piece. It's the connective tissue across generations. The bridge crew changes, the uniforms evolve, the technology leaps ahead, but the Enterprise remains constant, representing humanity's best instincts: curiosity, courage, and cooperation. Each Enterprise also reflects its time. The original NCC 1701 was a symbol of 1960s optimism, sleek, idealistic, and bound for unknown worlds. The Enterprise embodied late 20th century sophistication and diplomacy, a floating utopia for an age of negotiation rather than conquest. If the next ship blends both the daring of the original and the empathy of the next generation, it could become a perfect flagship for a modern Star Trek that values diversity, compassion, and bold storytelling. Resetting the future without erasing the past. Paramount's reset plan reportedly includes tighter narrative control across all upcoming Star Trek projects. The idea is to unify the universe, film, streaming, and animation under a consistent creative vision. If true, this would echo what Marvel and DC have done with their cinematic universes. But Star Trek has a unique challenge: balancing 60 years of continuity with the need to attract new audiences. Reintroducing a beloved ship is a brilliant way to bridge that gap. Longtime fans get the thrill of nostalgia, while new viewers get an accessible entry point. It's the same principle that made Star Trek 2009 work so well: a reboot that honored the past without being beholden to it. Now, instead of resetting the timeline entirely, this new phase might reset the tone, focusing less on galactic politics and multiversal crises, and more on what made the franchise timeless: wonder, discovery, and humanity's place among the stars. A ship, a crew, a mission. Of course, a ship is only as good as its crew. The question now becomes, who will command this returning Enterprise? Will we see legacy characters, perhaps descendants or protégés of classic officers, or an entirely new ensemble ready to carve their names into the stars? Strange New Worlds has already shown how well Star Trek can blend nostalgia with freshness. It resurrected familiar icons like Pike and Spock while introducing dynamic new characters who feel instantly at home in the canon. The same approach could work here. The Enterprise might return, but with a crew reflecting the future of the Federation rather than its past. The Enterprise as a symbol of renewal. Every great Star Trek revival begins with a return to the bridge. When the lights flicker on, what the Enterprise represents, a beacon of continuity.